Yo guys, I hope you're all good. On today's video we're going to do a little how-to for you. A couple of weeks ago we posted a video in Stirling where Raspy, on one of the last tricks of the day, hopped up a really big rock, but in front of it was what we call a bump. So yeah, we've had a few comments on that video asking to go through a little bit more about that technique and how to do it. It's a pretty interesting technique that is really good for opening up lines that start with a really big hop that you'd otherwise not be able to get up. So we're going to use the setup we have here in the driveway. Myself and Rory are both going to do some bumps up the pallet. We're going to do some slow-mos for you, give you some tips on how to do it, and then probably towards the end of the video we're just going to see how big we can go using this technique. You maybe not noticed it, but in some of the videos you'll see from us, you will maybe, if you look a little bit closely, see in front of rails and walls, usually at the start of the line, where we've put something down in front of that wall to help us get that height to get up to that rail or wall that allows us to sort of access the rest of the line. It's a little bit of a controversial technique. Some people say it's cheating, but yeah, I think as long as you don't try and hide it and you're honest with the viewers, I guess they can make up their own mind about it. So yeah, this is how to do a bump. Go for a textbook technique. Before we get started, it's all about picking a bump for yourselves. Usually it's not as if we carry around a bump with us everywhere and use the same one. It's just a case of using what you have available to you. So sometimes in the streets you'll find a little bit of a rock, like Rory did in Stirling a few weeks ago, or a big rock, yeah. Rory pretty much made it into a mini kicker, but today we have just a few bits of wood screwed together. We've actually still got the screw sticking at the bottom, which works quite well on this uneven surface. But yeah, it's about 2 inches tall. It's all about finding a nice easy setup for you to try it on. We've gone with 5 pallets high. That's because Rory's done it a few times before, but you might want to start a little bit lower. But it's quite important to have a decent height, because otherwise with just like say 1 or 2 pallets, it's quite hard to learn the technique. Another thing worth mentioning is the space you have between the bump and the pallet. You might be tempted to put it really close, but it's quite important to have a good gap between the bump and the obstacle you're trying to get up. I'd say for that it's about 2.5 feet, and then as you get bigger you'd maybe pull it back ever so slightly just to give yourself and the bike a bit of time to get up the obstacle. As you'll see there, it's definitely the most important thing is about timing. It's really important that you get the front wheel and back wheel both to hit the bump. One of my main tips when you're trying it is not to try and go too fast, because what you'll end up doing is you'll kind of skip over the bump and you won't get as much out of it as you would do when you're going quite slow. You've got to really focus on that front wheel, push that into the bump, and then just as the back wheel's hitting the bump, you then lift the back wheel as like you would in just a normal bunny hop when you're getting up something without one. Any pointers that you learned in the last couple of weeks when learning them?
Don't be scared to just try it and see what happens.
Yeah. I think you were like pretty amazed with how
much height you get.
Yeah. Basically Raspy learned them in the loading bay on the sort of, probably like a similar height to that, maybe a little bit higher. And yeah, it definitely took him like a few goes to just like go at it, but then once you kind of give one a little blast, even if you just go to like bash guard, which I find is pretty good, like rather than go full on commitment, because sometimes you might be amazed just how much extra it gives you. If you want to be a little bit careful, just focus on getting that front wheel up first, and even if you just kind of go up to bash guard, just to give you a feel of it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pointer to do. Another thing worth noting, just need to be careful with your tyre pressures. For bumps I'd probably go a little bit higher than what you're usually doing, especially when you're learning them. Especially if you're not tubeless, because otherwise you're going to be getting your rides cut short by punctures. Quite a nice setup there.
Yeah, it goes really good.
That's a good reason why you should be careful with them to begin with if you're not used to how much extra they give you, just so you don't loop out when you first try them. It almost gives you too much. One thing that Danny taught me when I was doing them was, it's kind of counterintuitive, but If you actually focus on the bump rather than the wall, you're more likely to get the timing right, you're more likely to get your front wheel to hit it. If your front wheel does hit it, you're almost definitely not going to hit your front wheel into the obstacle, which might be something that you're worried about. But yeah, just get a good speed, focus on the timing. I always think about like the noise in my head, it's like a bup bup. And basically if you think of that in terms of the timing, that's your front wheel hitting it, then that's your back wheel hitting it. And as soon as you hear that noise, you're then doing the bunny hop just like you would do as if you were going up a normal obstacle without a bump. Bumps are so effective, I'm almost struggling to do the technique properly with only how many pallets? 6. So I might try and build it up a little bit. So basically what we'll do is, if we can make it higher, probably move the bump just a little bit back. Generally that's going to be the case for, as you go higher, the bump's just going to come out. Put a couple more pallets on, see if we can get up it. And one thing to mention as well, as you go higher, you might suddenly reach the limit of that bump and just basically make the bump bigger. I'd say the maximum you could probably make the bumps like 5 inches or something, because that's when it's really going to start becoming like a bit of a problem with giving you puncher. But basically, the bigger the bump, the more it's going to give you in terms of elevation when you try to get up the obstacle. Do you think we should go with 1 or 2?
2 more. Let's just go straight.
Raspy's confident.
Easy.
1 more than that?
Yeah.
If you're using pallets, it's pretty important that you screw them together, because as you get higher, especially when you're only just making it, you're just going to be pushing the pallets away. So this is going to be the extra one that suddenly makes it feel massive.
That's pretty big now.
So,
Woofed.
you can see some fine cowboy building techniques going on here. This reminds me of being a kid so much. Oh. Give it a blast. I'd say that's now higher than the limit of what I could do without one.
Yo.
Love that noise. Boop, boop. You want to try 8 stack?
Aye.
I remember as a kid, like an 8 stack of pallets was like,
That's the goal.
I almost remember like hooking. What was the quote earlier? We could definitely, is it not, we could definitely do 8. Go on, Rasp. Just really focus on that like timing. Yo! It's insane how...
As long as you can commit to actually doing it, it just goes right up.
Yeah, good effort. Oh, real smooth. What do you think? 1 more?
1 more pallet.
Yeah, I think you've got that. We have enough for 2 more, maybe 3. Oh no! Idiot. Worth mentioning, like, whilst a bump does give you like loads of extra lift, if you're wanting to like properly max out at high heights, you still need to basically try as hard as what you would do if you were doing it without. You still need to get the preload sweet. If anything, the preload's even more important, and you still need to hop as high as you can, and you still need to get that tuck as high as you can, especially when you're going higher and higher. I'm gonna break these pallets.
Yo.
You want to give a couple of blasts?
Yeah, see if I can try it.
Raspy going for his PB. If you guys do have any questions about the technique, just hit us up in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you and answer any questions you have regarding this, if you guys are trying to learn it. In the meantime, Raspers is going for his PB. Oh, I'm out of breath. It's so funny when you're like there, it seems so high. And then when you come in here, it doesn't seem as big. Yes, Rasp.
That's one as well to
Oh, watch your ankles.
watch your ankles.
That is a very good point, well made by Raspers there. When you are bailing off the back, which you almost definitely will be when you're learning it, just remember there is that sort of bump just waiting for you to get your ankle. It's not like jumping off when there's nothing there, so just be mindful of the bump being there. Either straddle it with a feet on either side or just go so far enough back that you know you're not going to roll your ankle on it. Yes. Yo, it's there. That is called bottling it. Yes. Yo. That's class.
Man.
That is a good effort. Got another pallet. Should we go for one more?
Max you out. Oh, who's this?
So here comes Danny.
What's he gonna think?
Well, that's a keen bump.
Yeah, we're not done it yet.
What you been up to, Daddy?
I was out for my exercise for the day. A few laps out here. Amazing. Just taking it easy, but oh, so good. So good.
See you in a bit.
Oh. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like one extra pallet?
Easy.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Luckily Raspy's made it about 5 mil lower. So I'll pass the tent.
Testing out the bash cards. Whoa. Oh, he snapped it. Getting swarmed here.
Got flying over here. This is insane.
Oh yeah. There you go. Got it. Yes, Duncan. Yes. That was class.
Oh. That's better.
Yep. Bit punctury.
Oh no.
Ah.
Oh no, it's just my valve.
Alright.
Maybe that's what got me the extra. My tyre just deflated a little bit. Before we finish, should we make the bump a little bit bigger and just to show everyone how much easier it is? We'll go one extra beam, see how much easier it makes it. I'd say like if I had found like a obstacle like this in the street and I needed to get bumped, I think I'd probably be more likely to go something a bit more like this. Definitely gives you a fair bit more. Surprised, I thought I'd get that after doing it with the small one. I thought I'd get it in a one. I think I'll have to take that. I'm pretty happy. Like adding an extra slat didn't quite make it as easier as I thought it was going to be, but yeah, pretty stoked. I think like the key thing is like even though I've tried this technique for years, it's still the same. Like whether it's like I'm trying something higher or someone just starting it's trying something a bit lower, it's just all about getting that timing. Definitely realise how much at the end it's about just really pushing into the bump, especially with your front wheel, to get the maximum like sort of reactionary force out of it and then just tucking it up. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. If you do want to see some more, please hit subscribe. Be sure to follow Raspy on Instagram, I'll tag it here. If you do have any more ideas about what you want to see us do next, please comment below. And also if you have any more questions about the technique that we've just tried or any other ones, hit me up in the comments below and I will do my best to get back to you. Catch you in the next one. Peace.